think what pulls it all together is that no one person did any of that.
So he's sitting around on a June Thursday thinking about himself and his glory days. And to your point, Smug, I'm starting to warm up to Michelle Obama's POV. I mean, what?
Shocking admission about the state of his marriage to Michelle. Go a little bit low, Rob, if you could. So everybody's wondering, like, you weren't there at Jimmy Carter funeral, you weren't there at Trump, Michelle I'm talking about, and then you start a podcast with your brother. Barack Obama makes shocking 170 Michelle Obama married. I was in deep deficit with my wife. He told Tepper, conversation Thursday. So I've been trying to dig myself out of that hole by doing occasionally fun.
For years, this secret simmered beneath the surface, hidden, hushed, and quietly explosive. Then boom, enter Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet-David, a duo with the intensity of a political wrecking ball. They didn't just pull back the curtain on Barack Obama's pristine legacy. They ripped it clean off, flamethrower style. From mysterious multi-million-dollar mansions to eyebrow-raising interviews that make you do a double take, they left no stone unturned. Picture it. Obama, once untouchable, now square in the spotlight of a tag team takedown no one saw coming. Liberal group chats in meltdown. The internet buzzing. Netflix deals suddenly suspicious. You'll laugh, you'll gasp, and you'll never scroll the same way again.
About the women who actually were the victim of repression and violence in Israel. No words for them. Former President Obama, nothing to say about the children being murdered in Israel. So far, I guess he couldn't find time to actually use his little thumbs and tweet.
Obama's second term, he did none. Obama's first term, I think he did one. And Bush's first and second term, he did none on day one. This guy's come out the gates. One moment he's talking to World Economic Forum. Another second you're looking at him, he's talking to California, chewing out, Bass and Mayor Bass and talking to the folks there. Next minute he's in Vegas talking about no tax on tips. Next minute you're seeing him talking to military folks. Next minute you're seeing him on the...
Just when you thought every Obama chapter had already been read, the story takes a wild left turn. Quicker than Obama lobbing a gutter ball with a glittery 2-pound kiddie bowling ball. Beneath that signature charm, Ivy League finesse, and meme-worthy charisma lies a more complicated figure, the man who turned hope into a sleek, filter-perfect Instagram aesthetic. Yes, the same leader who brought us soaring speeches, stealth drones, indefinite detentions, and impeccably tailored suits is now getting slowly, surgically taken apart by a new breed of critics armed with microphones, archives, and a whole lot of unapologetic receipts.
Crushing it on the tariffs, foreign policy, just got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. If not Trump, then who? Honestly. Barack Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize after 9 months in office. He had done nothing. He gave a nice speech about Muslims and they gave it to him.
Let's be real. If Barack Obama were any more of a brand, he'd come bundled with a QR code, a Spotify playlist, and a free latte on your 10th visit. This is the man who electrified an entire generation, got them lining up at the polls like it was Coachella, and then subtly redefined change as the same playbook, just with better fonts and cinematic lighting. He could deliver a 45-minute TED talk on universal healthcare, have you nodding along, and still somehow wrap it all up by sliding you a polished flyer for Blue Cross, like it was part of the plan all along.
Jimmy Carter's funeral certainly raised some eyebrows, but yesterday's announcement that she won't be attending Trump's inauguration confirms something is definitely going on between her and Barack. She said whispers about cracks in their relationship have been circulating in D.C. for over a year now, but this feels like the first public proof of a marriage on the rocks. The question now isn't if, but when. If I had to guess, they will wait until after the inauguration to announce it. Timing, is everything. And yet the story doesn't end there. For months, I've heard Jennifer Aniston's name.
Patrick Bet-David and Megyn Kelly didn't come to play. They showed up swinging with intellectual brass knuckles and a stack of uncensored receipts. Because let's be honest, the Obama glow-up wasn't exactly about transformative leadership. It was more like watching the most charismatic letdown in modern politics. He didn't drain the swamp, he curated it. Then repackaged it with a smooth voiceover, some elegant lighting, and a multi-million-dollar Netflix deal. The hope? Replaced by headlines, handshakes, and invitations to the elite's inner circle.
I wouldn't look at Obama one way or another. I would simply say, I get it. It's tough. Good, God bless. And don't forget, they were young presidents. They weren't old presidents. Yes. So it's a difference when you're a young president. When you're a young president getting out and you're a star power, like Netflix showing everywhere he goes and da-da-da-da-da, it's a different kind of a life.
This is the same guy who promised to usher in a new era of government transparency, then ran an administration so sealed up, it made the CIA look like an overactive group chat. His take on accountability? A masterclass in polite evasion. Wall Street execs didn't get perp-walked. They got polite nods, golden parachutes, and front row seats at the next DC fundraiser, complete with top-shelf cocktails and a wink across the room.
Fuel on the fire that there's a potential, maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas' relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, the basketball team, the Clippers, thank you, game without her. And then on Tuesday, he was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with both daughters, Malia and Sasha. But again,
let's not even get started on the Nobel Peace Prize. You know, reality's gone off script when a guy wins one before he's even warmed up his seat in the Oval Office. That's like giving someone Employee of the Month just for showing up to orientation with a charming smile and a crisp suit. Obama wasn't honored for what he did. He was awarded for who he symbolized. Which, let's be honest, might be the most on-brand Obama moment of all time. Meanwhile, under his visionary foreign policy, the world map started looking like a collection of diplomatic blooper reels. Syria? Whoops. Libya? Double whoops. Iraq? Let's just call that an oops casserole, topped with drone strikes, vague press statements, and a side of moral high ground served cold. And who could forget the infamous red line in Syria? A bold declaration that somehow morphed into a gentle suggestion, then into a nervous cough, followed by a moonwalk so smooth it deserved a medal in Olympic backpedaling. Obama's foreign policy was less speak softly and carry a big stick, and more like speak eloquently, hand the stick to someone else, and blame Bush when the whole thing catches fire. Domestically, he entered office with a golden ticket, a Democratic supermajority, and still acted like Congress was some mysterious oracle. Can we pass reform? Shakes magic 8-ball, reply hazy, try again later. At times, it felt like he believed in bipartisanship so deeply, he forgot he was actually elected to lead.
The process of Nobel Prize. If he's able to do that, who nominates? Because most of the Nobel winners are on the left.
Nobel Prizes, you can go look this up, are given to an arcane nomination process, and they go into a back room and they decide who they're going to give it to. And the Nobel Peace Prize is basically a political football. You look around the world at people that have really caused peace, and you have Obama made a couple speeches as soon as he was inaugurated in 2009. Oh my goodness, we give it to for fostering an environment of peace. He didn't do anything.
He was the undisputed master of the eloquent detour, those sweeping, poetic monologues that left crowds teary-eyed, and later wondering what exactly had just been said. He'd invoke the arc of history and the audacity of hope like a philosopher-preacher hybrid, delivering lines that felt profound, until you realized you were emotionally stirred but intellectually stranded. 30 minutes in, you'd wake up from the rhetorical trance, slightly dazed, checking your wallet and your healthcare policy, only to find your premiums had gone up and now included a deductible for existential dread. Patrick Bet David didn't just pull back the curtain, he ripped the whole stage off like a magician, revealing there was never a trick, just great lighting and impeccable timing. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: Obama wasn't the Messiah, he was the illusionist. A man who spoke like Gandhi but governed more like Nixon, with better self-awareness and a cooler Spotify playlist. All vision, no velocity. He could have sold sand in the Sahara, while convincing you it was a climate-resistant miracle engineered to fight global warming. And Megyn Kelly, She carved through the Obama mystique like a surgical scalpel dipped in snark. Imagine a real housewife at a reunion, but with facts, footnotes, and a mean side eye. Eventually, someone had to ask, how did the most transformative president leave behind a country that looked eerily like the one he inherited, just with sharper front-facing cameras, more hashtags, and a nation now divided by identity like it's a team sport? Yes, we can quickly morphed into, actually, Congress said no, and then evaporated into bureaucratic fog. His legacy: a political IKEA instruction manual. Vague diagrams, missing screws, and somehow still overpriced. He didn't deliver post-racial America, he pitched it like a dreamy startup, then let the helium balloon drift while the nation set itself on fire. One Facebook comment thread at a time. Obama didn't solve the race conversation, he stylized it. Helvetica font. Cool tone. Inspirational backing track. All branding, no blueprint.
Money, according to the Obamas. 70 million? Because public reports estimate that that is their net worth, parlayed on the back of Barack Obama's 14 years of holding political office. He did not spend 50 years in government service. He did a stint in the Illinois State Senate. He did a couple years in the U.S. Senate before he ran for office and won. All right, then he did 2 terms as president. And off of that, he's made himself over $100 million. Almost $100 million, probably over, to be honest. We don't know all of the earnings.
Economically speaking, Wall Street probably slept more soundly under Obama than under half the Fortune 500 CEOs. The man didn't just cushion the banks. He practically tucked them in, kissed their foreheads, and left them with a bonus check under the pillow. Meanwhile, Main Street? They got a hang-in-there kitten poster, a commemorative coin, and a front-row seat to the most polite bailout in American history. Obama's recovery plan might as well have included a disclaimer. If you're wealthy, welcome to your second yacht. If not, we hope you enjoy inspirational speeches and some light financial yoga. He was the first president to make people feel like things were evolving, even as everything quietly stayed exactly the same. A presidency that functioned less like an administration and more like an expertly produced TVD talk. Full of sweeping ideas, sleek presentation, and very little follow-through. And when things got dicey, he'd glide into that signature calm, like a guy watching the kitchen catch fire while asking if anyone's in the mood for some s'mores. No urgency, just vibes. His rhetorical superpower: saying absolutely nothing for 10 minutes, but making it sound like a masterclass in political genius. A philosopher trapped in a bureaucrat's calendar app, waxing poetic about progress in public, while smoothing things over with lobbyists behind the scenes. Remember the Obamacare rollout? It felt like trying to string Netflix on dial-up while chanting "Yes, we can" into a loading screen. Sure, millions gained coverage, but millions more were dropped, re-signed, or confused into submission. It wasn't healthcare reform. It was a government-designed escape room, except the only thing you escaped was clarity, and you paid more on your way out.
We own 4, count them 4, luxury properties. A home in Martha's Vineyard, estimated to be worth some $20 million, in addition to properties in Washington, D.C., reportedly bought for $8.1 million, a beachfront home in Hawaii, reportedly bought for $8.7 million, and a home bought in Chicago for $1.65 million. Is that more than you need, Mr. Obama?
Obama's presidency was the ultimate slow burn, less like a firework lighting up the sky and more like a high-end scented candle. Calming, elegant, and vaguely reassuring. Until the power goes out and you realize it's not built to illuminate anything. He gave the nation hope like a beautifully wrapped gift, then handed the actual steering wheel to a team of Ivy League technocrats, hedge fund whisperers, and Silicon Valley utopians who swiftly replaced your job with an app, your savings with crypto, and your healthcare plan with a downloadable mindfulness course. Meanwhile, the media practically serenaded him. You'd think he invented the alphabet, the light bulb, and Spotify playlists. Every speech was treated like scripture, every pause like poetry. While policies slipped through unchallenged and decisions floated by unscrutinized, America smiled and nodded, because he made everything sound so reasonable. It was like being gaslit by the world's most reassuring guidance counselor. He didn't need to raise his voice. He let his followers do the yelling while he floated above the noise, exuding calm like it was a leadership strategy. He turned detachment into a brand. If strategic inaction were a museum piece, Obama would have had a spotlighted solo exhibit at the Louvre titled Elegance in Delay. And the surveillance state. Oh, he didn't just inherit it, he upgraded it. Drones, data collection, and government eyes everywhere, all wrapped in legal memos and a polite nod. Guantanamo stayed open, troops remained deployed. Lobbyists multiplied like startup pitches. But hey, he wore it well. The Obama era wasn't governance, it was aesthetic leadership. Curated like an Instagram feed, polished, filtered, inspirational, and just detached enough from reality to be timeless.
A new movie comes out. What's the name of that movie? Civil War. Leave the world behind. Our power grid in America hasn't been updated. 75% of it hasn't been updated in 50 years. And you're kind of talking about that. Then you're pitting whites against blacks. There's a line in the movie that says, Dad, you know if something goes down, we can't trust these white people. I know that's something both you and Mom agree on. Why do you put that line in the movie, Barack? And you were helping with the script. Why would you put that in the movie? Why would you put that in the movie? Barack, weren't you the same guy that gave a talk at the DNC in 2004 about bringing people together? What happened?
Obama didn't burn politics to the ground, he gentrified it. He transformed it from a messy, confrontational arena into a sleek boutique brand, complete with inspirational slogans, curated photo ops, and the soft glow of presidential lighting. Less commander-in-chief, more chief content creator. And what did we get in return? 8 years of policy dressed up in poetry and accountability, cloaked in plausible deniability. He governed like a minimalist, everything was implied, never confirmed. By the time he left office, he had mastered the fine art of executive suggestion. Nothing was ever his fault. Everything was too complex, too delicate, too steeped in historical nuance. If a zombie apocalypse broke out on his watch, he'd calmly blame it on legacy CDC memos and budget constraints from a decade ago. And no, Patrick Bet-David and Megyn Kelly weren't mean. They were meticulous. Their critiques weren't attacks, they were diagnostics. Because Obama's greatest political feat wasn't passing sweeping reform, it was convincing half the country that composure equals competence. Say it softly enough, toss in some multisyllabic vocabulary, and suddenly inflation calms down, and foreign adversaries rethink their invasions. That was the vibe. Every crisis got the same three-step response: issue a statement, express concern, then proceed to do as little as possible, with grace. He ran the presidency like a Bluetooth speaker, clean design, great sound, but with a habit of disconnecting right when you needed action most. And yes, his fans still speak of him like he parted the political seas. While skipping over the record-setting deportations, the data surveillance expansions, and the remote control warfare.
To seize this moment, we have to use technology to open up our democracy. It's no coincidence that one of the most secretive administrations in our history has favored special interests and pursued policies that could not stand up to the sunlight. As president, I'm going to change that. We will put government data online in universally accessible formats. I'll let citizens track federal grants, contracts, earmarks, and lobbying.
Obama's legacy feels like a BuzzFeed article, slick, shareable, and oddly hollow once you click past the headline. He promised to shake up Washington, to rewrite the script. But instead, he became its most eloquent narrator. He wasn't the outsider charging the gates. He was the best-dressed insider the system ever produced. And when Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet-David brought the receipts, it didn't feel like an attack. It felt like a national exhale. Finally, someone was saying what millions had only dared whisper. Behind the soaring speeches and perfectly lit press moments was a man who played it safe, packaged it beautifully, and outsourced the hard change to future headlines. He governed like he was live drafting a memoir, every pause intentional, every phrase sculpted for the audiobook. Policies were purposefully vague, crafted like horoscopes, open to interpretation and carefully non-committal. He didn't drain the swamp. He put it through a Lightroom filter and posted it with a clever caption. Barack Obama didn't disrupt the game. Hope wasn't a legislative blueprint, it was a vibe. A mood board for political optimism. And while everyone was busy feeling inspired, the ship quietly stayed on course, just with better fonts and cleaner visuals. By the time he exited stage left, the very machine he once vowed to challenge was stronger, shinier, and more confident in its own permanence. And now that the curtain is being pulled back by voices immune to charisma and cover stories, what's left is the truth. Barack Obama may not have been the disruptor we needed. He was the best salesman the status quo ever hired. And yes, we bought it. Twice.
You just said with the right initiative, and unfortunately, that initiative hasn't been forthcoming. And as a consequence, what's happening is, here's what's happening to ordinary families, because I know one of those boxes was, how does this affect you? The average family has seen their premiums double in the last 9 years. Costs for families are going up 3 times faster than wages. So if you're happy with your health care right now, and many people are happy with their health care right now, the problem is 10 years from now, you're not going to be happy because it's going to cost twice as much or 3 times.
We bought it, not once, but twice. Like wide-eyed tourists at a timeshare seminar, lured in by free hors d'oeuvres and smooth-talking reps, with no real exit strategy in sight. While the nation clapped like it was the encore set at Coachella, Obama was backstage quietly signing off on surveillance expansions that would make Orwell's Big Brother take notes, and economic policies that had Wall Street doing spontaneous jazz hands in celebration. He didn't just preserve the establishment, he gave it a makeover. Put it in a tux, wrote it a mission statement, delivered it via TD Talk, and made everyone feel inspired about being politically catfished. By the time he left office, he'd racked up a Nobel Peace Prize, a chill Spotify playlist, and a legacy of economic inequality that read more like a hedge fund Christmas bonus summary than a victory for working Americans. And still, he's treated like a philosopher king, untouchable, enlightened, floating above the gridlock of politics. So when Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet-David start slicing into the Obama mythology, it's not scandal, it's much-needed civic therapy. Because someone finally had to pull back the curtain and say out loud what many have only dared think. Behind the lyrical speeches, curated playlists, and airbrushed optics was just another politician. One who smiled calmly as the swamp got deeper, and somehow convinced us it was a reflecting pool.